So let's meditate. Find your conducive posture. Focus on your breath. See any object in the room. Your breath. Come to the golden mean. It's golden light. Or video. It's a warm, late afternoon sunlight. Filling your entire space. Beautiful blue sky outside. Try to be content with the blue sky. Use your Sheshan watchfulness to detect with off the outlet. Very gem like that. Golden light to the beautiful blue sky. see a beautiful valley covered in golden light, with mountains in the distance. And then come back to the golden road. Invite your teacher to come and sit with you. You can place your head on your chest. May hold you like a baby. Try to feel comfortable. In calm statements, they hold you, protect you in any way they can. Feel a sense of contentment and joy. Just being in that awe. No place you've never been. Nowhere else to go this way. And you can't do it. Touch your body. And use that as a single point of focus. with the teacher forever. Slowly come back to this one. Closing fingers, stretching away. Once again, it's incredibly still, amazing. So in previous classes, we've been focusing on the teacher's eyes, touching hands on your hands. Maybe when we did the scent. Did we get to that one? No. Okay. That one for me personally puts me in a vulnerable space. Trusting, that they hold me. It's difficult. But when you get there, I don't know if you have any experience, but it's being in the loving care. You feel like, would that trigger your knowledge? Is that intense? I mean, do you have joy and contentment just being there, while they hold you, feeling protected? Focusing just on their eyes, you can get that too and all that else. But that one particularly is very precious. So, Chelsea really likes that one. She asked us to do that. So, we're going to go through the differences between the levels. What differentiates each level? Why are there 9 levels? And we kind of touched on it. We've gone through the poster for the last 5 weeks. Tonight, Miriam shared with us the higher levels. And then we also have to get up a little higher, which is the 9 plus, which we won't go into too much detail on tonight. But what we're going to cover is what distinguishes level 2 from 1, what distinguishes level 3 from 2. And on up. And why is that important to know? Why do we want to know that?
Our progress. We're making progress and where we're headed.
Yeah. Like in grade school, grade 6 to 12, you want to know where you're at, right? You know what grade you're in. In Geshe-la says this very funny thing about, if you're a freshman, and I kind of feel like this is like a male side of it, but he said if you're a freshman, you know you're not going to ask out a sophomore girl because it's just impossible that you can go out. But you have to know what level you're at, that you're a freshman, and that's not possible to ask them out, so that you know who you can ask out. I kind of feel like for some reason it's like the other way around. People don't feel like it's like so. Getting back to this, we want to know what levels we're at, so that in 6 months you can, know that you're on level 2. Like if you don't know you're on level 2, it's just going to be a big mess. If you didn't know there was level 1 and what distinguishes it, in 6 months from now when you're what use would it be if you were in high school and you didn't know you were a sophomore and you graduated at 12th grade, right? What comfort would that bring? So we're going to go through and distinguish so that you know in 6 months what level you're at, and then where you're going, as you say. So distinguishes 2 from 1? Let's see. Experience? Second answer? What is it?
You're actually starting to be on,
Yeah. So between 2 and 1, you're on the object more on level 2, right? So the difference between level 2 and 1 is the duration, the relative duration that you're on the object. Right? And that's kind of signifying, right? If you weren't on the object, you wouldn't be able to have any of the problems, right? Like dullness or agitation, right? So we see the elephant and the monkey's leg getting white. So it shows that we're starting to have some of those classical problems, right? So we're actually on the object having those problems. So that's a signifier there. And what would distinguish level 3 from 2? If between 2 and 1 is more time on the object, right? What would we guess the difference between level 3 and 2? What do we got? Anybody? Yeah.
So the amount of time that you're on the object is more than the amount of time that you're off the object. On level 3. So in level 3, like the amount of time, the periods when you're on the object are longer than the periods when you're off. Whereas in level 2, I think it's still that the periods on the object are shorter than the periods off the object. Right?
Yeah, so could we say it's the distraction? I'm off the object, right? But that was this one too. The difference is that we're on the object more. So what distinguishes 3 from 2 is the distraction is less. Okay? So number between 2 to 1 is so duration of time on the object. Is greater, right? Because we're moving up, so we're getting more time on the object. What's that? During your time on the object is really strange. Okay, and then 3 to 2 we said the distraction is getting less. Okay? Can you read it? Yeah, this is a different order. So level 3 is right with patch-like focus, which can be deceiving because you think that it sounds like your time on the object is like patches, but really patches is your time off the object. So what's that? So if you look at the poster, we get some keys here while we're going through these. Here, he's just flinging his tools in the air. The elephant and the monkey are just running wild, no control, barely touching it. And then we get up here, right? And then it's like the flies on a cow fighter, that kind of conversation, a brief conversation, briefing on object. Then we get up here and we're on the object, but his patches were off the object, we're distracted. Right? So now look at his Jemba, right? He's able, his recollection is better. Right? So we're on the object. And then we have the rabbit now. We've gone through all this, which is what? Cerebellum. The monkey is our distraction or agitation. The elephant, which is the gross dullness in our mind. And so then, what would distinguish level 4 from level 3? How about at level 4, cannot lose the object completely. You're not in danger of completely losing the object. So level 4, which is, how do they say I'm supposed to do 18, right? 16. It's where you're maintaining the mind tightly on the object. So you focus mostly on the object. So the difference between level 4 and level 3 is that at level 4 you cannot completely lose the object, where at level 3 the patches where you're off the object. Yep.
Which one did you start nipping things in the gut?
Which one do you start nipping?
Yeah, like you see maybe education or something coming and you sort of like dismiss it before it's really
Yeah, we're getting up here.
Oh, not
No, but it's good because we covered it, right? We all do that. We're starting to, that's like, it's blip prevention, right? It's like kind of what Miriam was getting at too at the boxing ring. Like the contenders of drums and agitation are wearing the thing. And there's no like knockouts anymore. It's just kind of like you're easily blocking, gouging, and they're just losing their power. So you're able to see them coming and get out of the way and prevent them from having anything. And we're going to cover that real soon. So the difference between level 4 and 3 is that
You can't lose the object completely.
can't lose the object completely. And then how about what distinguishes level 5 from 4? Here we can't lose the object. Now we move up. Any guesses?
Starting to contend with serotonin and agitation.
The difference between level 5 and level 4 is that you can no longer grow stones. Notice the shishin. Look at the symbol. They're both fully activated, right? So you're starting to contend with the more subtle forms of Dawson agitation. At level 4, you're not going to lose the object, but you're being beat up in the ring, right? Like bonus and agitation are strong. Everyone's talking about that. So the difference between 5 and 4 is that no longer right here. Gross stone at level 5. Now, the difference between level 6 and level 5. What's happening, right? Bonus and agitation are losing the power, right? The monk is gaining agility with these tools. We're gaining agility with shishin, the watchfulness, the watchdog state of mind, and the recollection, right? And so here, getting into subtle forms of dullness and agitation, rather than the back. Even that the monkey is going off to virtuous objects here, right? And reaching for fruit. So there's like a lot going on at 5. On level 6, the monk's turned around and he's got his tools in his hand. So at level 6, what distinguishes level 6 from level 5 is that there's 2 parts to it. The first is that you no longer have to worry about being completely lost in subtle dullness. And the sign for that is that the rabbit is not on the elephant's back. Right? You drop the subtle dullness off at 5. And we achieve through that effort right here, the flames, to get to those. The first one is that, how did I word that? No longer have to worry. Right? Because there is still balance here, right? It's not like the elephant's completely wrong. The second one is that the difference between level 6 and level 5 now is that subtle agitation will be less dominant at level 6 than it was at level 5. So it's losing its power at level 6. You're able to combat it, and the neuroscience and the tools are engaged and stuff. Looking back, right? Looking in mind now. So it's okay. This is sort of adaptation. Yes, powerful. Level 6.
I think you have to really know about subtle agitation than subtle dullness in 6.
Yeah.
Initiation is fully developed.
Oh, yeah. It's like a full-grown adult passing watching this, right? That's not this way, it's like full-grown, yeah. And that's why the rabbit is gone. Because here, subtle dullness is like the dominant thing to worry about. Getting stuck in subtle dullness and thinking that you're meditating like for 3 hours or an hour. And really you're just kind of daydreaming meditating. You could, not to say would, but possible. And then he described it as then you would be just kind of like wishing on the something was going to pop up. You got trapped in it. So I like what you said about initiation is really good. So now we're getting up on it. So what distinguishes level 7? What's that?
7 from 6.
More tools, right? He's saying very well the monkey, that sort of thing. He's able to say what he's going to 7. Elephants, just a little bit now. So what distinguishes between level 7 and level 6 is that you're no longer able to get lost in subtle dullness or agitation. No worry that you don't ever get lost in subtle dullness. Okay. I thought it was worded like this. It's a question. That's no longer any great need to be cautious about whether you'll lose yourself in subtle dullness. It's still, yeah, you're in the boxing ring, the contenders are like dying out, right? There's no knockout punching out. You're just kind of like the little sprinkler head example. It's just teetering back and forth, and they're not, they're swinging maybe subtly, and you're just kind of dancing around. You're able to prevent.
With little effort.
Yeah, with little effort, yeah. Because you're still using the effort, right? The power at these levels is the power of effort. So you're still using that. But you don't have to worry that you're going to get lost in it. You're able to come back simply. You're doing pretty good. Let's look at here. What if it's coming up? Okay, so what distinguishes level 8 and 7? Look that up. Elephant's all white, the monkey's gone, the rabbit's gone, the monk's tools are gone. He's facing up to the hill. There it is. It's a posing a question. I mean, is it even any longer possible that you could have any form of dullness? Is it possible anymore? I mean, are they even here? Is there any blackness in the elephant? Where's the monkey gone? No tools in here, right? I bet it's a question. And then we get to what distinguishes shamatha, level 9 from level 8. What about this? How about the powers, right? We achieve these two levels through the power of effort. What do you remember what the last power was? What was that? Nice. So at this point, the mind's at the beck and call, right? So it's effortless. Here you still need you're still going up to get to level 9. At level 9 it's effortless. So what distinguishes level 9 from level 8 is, right, and it's where you no longer have to make any conscious effort to stay there. It's flowing. And here where that single point concentration, right, samadhi, here we reach shamatha. Right? Geshe says the first, it's not full shamatha, but it's the slice, the first slice of shamatha, stillness. And we are, without any conscious effort, flowing on the object. So,
can I just add?
Yeah.
I remember that I think with level 8, you still have to make a little bit of effort to begin the meditation and to get on your single pointed object, to get single pointed on the object in meditation. And then in level 9, it's just like you sit, you put your hands in, and it's just like bam, you're there. It's just like there's no effort. It's just like you're just there.
You're in the zone.
Right. Whereas level 8, there's still you have to a little bit of effort at the beginning of the meditation.
yeah, and it's when you sit down, it's like your hands hit, and it's like, oh, you're there, right where you left off. Okay, does this make sense to everyone? Is this hopeful? We need to know it so we know in 6 months what level we're at. We'll know by the process what distinguishes the level. How do you know you're progressing? How do you know that you can't ask this off and go out? Because you're a freshman, right? you'll know you're at level 2 and not level 1 because your duration of time on the object is greater, right? You'll know you're here because there'll be some cool stuff happening to you by the time you get here. Not just in meditation, but in your life, like we're talking about. So, any questions?
But it's also true, like, you said in a couple questions ago, like, someone mentioned that, I don't know if it's about, that you'll graduate to another level, you could still, if your practice right isn't strong, go back down to level 2, right? It's not that you never go back down to level 1, because you hit that point and you never go back.
But I think it's important to say that the more consistent your practice is and the more effort that's given, and if you are meditating every single day, the more likely you're going to progress. I don't think that if you have a really steady practice, that one day you'll be meditating and you'll be back at level 1. It doesn't really work. I don't think it works like that.
And the way Geshe Michael puts it so beautifully too is, I mean, he jokes around and he says, like, and I dare to say that I'm rarely ever at, level 3 or 4. Haha, yeah. But if you think about it, like at times, if you have a habitual practice and you're going to have times of solitary retreat or times where you're really focusing on the requisites, right? Say you have a place where you're not outwardly doing so many activities. Your meditation space is perfect and everything's lined up. You might have stronger periods of meditation, and then you might be out in the road serving and doing other things, and it'll change. So it's not fixed, like you say. Like you could have other things arise. You might be back at these levels, but at least now you're aware of what level you're at, right? Because you've had experiences. Or, I think like in teachings, like when you can't understand quite what level you're at, instead of, this is like an experience, so you couldn't say like, if you were learning the poster, like, you can skip and say like, oh, I don't really understand 14, but let me go down to 26 through 33. Okay, you can do that here, but can you do that and say you have the experience, at these levels? Can you say I reach shamatha? Oh, I understand shamatha. Right? I have the experience. I reach the meditation. So, Geshe says, in that tradition, like just on top of that, when you reach a point where you don't understand it, stop there and focus on that until you understand it, and then move on. And with meditation, we can't really, you can't get past gross dullness. You're not going to have subtle dullness. You're not going to be aware of subtle dullness.
I don't necessarily know if you're falling down levels, because I think the point is that if your practice is moving back and you're contending with things you thought you conquered, then you haven't mastered them. So if you're, it's like Miriam was saying, I know not to take a hot bath before I sit for a long session. So if you haven't figured out what things move your mind, then you haven't gotten to the point where you can advance. You have to find all those things that allow you to move past that level where you haven't really mastered it, you've liked. So it's not just about moving past the level, it's about figuring out what your mind needs to advance and then getting good at doing that so that you can move forward. Because it's about the agility. Like when you get to the top, like you're sitting and everything knows, like your body knows, your mind knows, you go into that space. And it's because you've done the work. So you have to do the work.
Yeah, and then it's like a little fine-tuning, right? So because you have that. And as we're progressing and meditating and having the experiences, you will have obstacles, right? You have the 5 obstacles in the universe. When you're using your sheshin, your watchfulness, and your benda to come back on focus, why am I having a pain in my leg? Why is, if you start your question, why am I having this wall that I'm hitting at level 5? Why can't I get over solid bonus?
Why on your nose?
Yeah. Why are the birds cooing, outside every day the same way? You get serious about it, right? And you start asking these questions. Why is the boss still appearing as an angry, miserable being to me? And then why are they coming up in my meditation? Why are they popping up? Or why, these questions will come, and so then we want to solve it, right? Because you want to progress, to get to the ultimate goal, to directly perceive emptiness, to get to shamatha, to get single point focus, then to go beyond. The 9th level, which is 9 plus, we don't stop at 9. There's a 9 plus, which is a lengthy description, but you see the guy flying, and then he's riding an elephant, and then he's turned around with a flaming sword in his hand. And do we want to get up there, right? So everything becomes important.
The outer meditation we are going to life, way of reversal. Like when we reach some level of some previous life that we have, does it really still continue in this one, or is it like the new beginning?
I think it would. I would argue based on the monks. Yeah.
But how would you really remember? So you're saying,
is there any bad?
How would you come into this life if you had reached that state and you're a type of being? How would you do that?
Or maybe you complete the level 6 and then how that works.
I think it would depend on your level of practice and what kind of seeds you planted in your practice. So if you were in a specific path and you were doing certain practices, so, depending on what seeds you have and what you did specifically, then when you come back to something that's going to feel familiar, when you do certain things, it'll feel familiar. One of my friends, she picked up a cloth that was part of a monk's robe, and she was just cleaning her room, and she threw it over her shoulder, and she just had this feeling of So I think if you've, done practices and you've meditated and you've done other things, then when you encounter that, it's not completely new.
And we all want to get to that level because the purpose is to become a type of being that can ultimately save the world.
That is really like a thing. The mind is doing the explore of life. So basically,
but it can shift, right? It might not be the perfect.
Yeah.
You might have had those seeds from the past life, but
mind is something that never changes. The brain and the body change, but the mind is the life.
But it has to have the conducive environment for the seeds, right? That's why they find the little monks at 2. They try to catch them before, right? Except they catch you at 23.
Yeah.
You might have pictures on Facebook. But, you see my point. You want to create a conducive environment for the seeds to grow. That's it.
the ACI classes cover in a precise way. I don't know if you've taken notes. That's why I asked you these questions. Yeah, they're really good. So it's 9 o'clock now, and there was a little more I wanted to share with you, but if you have to run, go for it. But is anyone able to stay? You can talk about why you see those distractions.
Before you go, I'm actually just going to pass these out. So since up until a lot of you guys are new, you aren't maybe keeping a book. So this is just a little thing you can keep to start keeping your book, and it's just the 10 vows, the freedom vows, and you can just keep them with your book. You can just fold it in half like this.
So nice. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I hope it's helpful, and Jamie did just such a great job last week, I think, of going over that. So this will just be a little reminder you can keep with you.
Then we're missing one?
You can pass them back up.
So just to go a little further, we're not going to get into the higher levels, but on 9+, which is when you reach shamatha, then it's not quite where you can directly perceive emptiness. You have to go to 9+. And so when I started talking a few minutes ago about why am I having these obstacles arise, why are these problems, these blips coming up, and then you go back to the requisites, right, and you look at a conducive place to meditate, and reduce your wants, be happy with what you get, right? Reduce your activities, your stimulation. And then the 5th one, which was try to live a more ethical life. And the 6th one, which is try to reduce your random thoughts. But the 5th one, I think, is very important. Because living a more ethical life, I mean, it boils down to being kind to other people. Right? And if you're not being kind to others, like simple acts of kindness, in your daily life, that's radically going to affect your meditation. And a lot of these, obstacles, dullness, agitation, things that arise, are reflections of past seeds, past actions, things you've done. So how do you be the blip preventer? We were talking about blip management, how to keep the stream more smooth. And when you get to the level of blip prevention, can you even do that off the meditation in your daily routine? And Danielle's going to share something about that, which I think you already shared one.
Miriam did it really good. So I'm just gonna ask you guys to participate a little bit, so what we've been talking about is this poster, and it's wonderful to meditate, and it's but part of why you're here is to kind of figure out how this is going to affect your day-to-day life, like when you're out in the world, like when you're sitting in here in the 3 jewels, and it's like this great space, and it's so relaxed, it's so easy, right, to be in a good mood, like it's easy to feel really like relaxed here, right? You show up and like everyone's really nice and like everyone's really polite, but that's not what you're dealing with all the time, okay? So I wanted to just kind of pull your attention back to like how do you learn to make everywhere like this space, okay? Alright, so we're going to start easy. You guys have done this before. What is this? This is a pen. Okay. And if a dog or a baby saw it, what would they think it was? A chew toy. And what does that mean about this? Like this object? that it's empty. And what does that mean exactly? It's coming from you. But does that, so if I leave the room, and if everyone leaves the room and we put this pen on the floor, what happens? Does that mean it disappears, it's not here, it doesn't exist? Like, what is this when no one's in the room? It's nothing, right? It's an object. How do you know it's real? If you're not looking at it, dog isn't playing with it. If no one's projecting on this, how do you know it's real? How can it be all things to different people? Only because it's able to be projected on to know it's real. That's the only way this can exist, is because you're able to project on it. Does that make sense?
Well, what's something that you can't project?
So, hold on, we'll keep going here. So, only because this allows each observer to project on it, that is what makes it real. On its own, it has there's no specific quality about this that exists outside of what you're giving it. Okay? So that's the slightly easier one, okay?
So you're saying that it's coming this way, or?
Okay. So I get migraines, so I have a leaf. Alright? So can someone just tell me what this is?
A leaf.
Which is?
Medicine.
Medicine. What does it do?
It's anti-inflammatory.
Anti-inflammatory.
It's a headache vanisher.
Yeah, headache vanisher, right? But have you guys all taken aspirin? Does it always work when you take it? Do you sometimes have to take more than one? Sometimes you just, right? So you take it and you don't always know what the effect is going to be when you take it, right? Okay. That the same experience you guys all have? But doesn't this have medicine in it? It's supposed to, right? Like, that's what we call it, right? That's why we call it aspirin, right? Because it's supposed to have something in it that heals you when you feel sick or when you have a headache, okay? But if it doesn't work all the time, like, what is it when I take it and it doesn't work? What is it then? It's broken. Like, what is this, right?
It's
Like,
an ineffective aspirin tablet.
ineffective aspirin tablet.
You didn't really have the type of migraine that you were supposed to.
Right, we had some super special one. Okay. So, why is it that when you do sometimes take it, it does sometimes work? Like, is there some special thing that sometimes you can make it work and other times you can't?
The active ingredient.
The active ingredient. So, like, this aspirin is one example, but think about how many things you do from day to day. Like, there's this, uncertainty about whether or not it's going to do what it is that you want it to do or do what it is that you expect it to do. Right? There's always, that chance, right? Like, you get in the car, you turn it on, right? There's that moment where you're like, I expect this car to start so I can get to work. Right? There's that moment where you're like, you hear the key catch and the engine and you're like, okay. There's always that moment, right? Where you're like, maybe it will and maybe it won't. And you don't know. And there's that moment of uncertainty. So what we really want to look at is the quality that drives this to work is this. Do you have a headache? No, but here, in case you didn't. Okay? When you give something to someone else, you create a seed for yourself to see it and to benefit from it. This pen has no quality until I do this. So I give this to someone else. I don't create the seed for myself. Now I've created many pens for myself. Now I've created the ability for myself to benefit when I take an aspirin. But if you don't have the generosity or the kindness to have given this to someone before, right? Or I literally met someone on the retreat who said, I can't get a pen. And I was like, there are pens everywhere. He was like, everyone has pen. I'll give you a pen. He's like, no. He's like, every pen I pick up, it's like, it's broken, like it won't write, the ink's frozen. He could put 5 pens a day. None of the pens would work. And you have to get your head around, the thing that makes this aspirin work is the fact that I saw someone that was sick, who took care of them, and that is what is driving that to work for me. Okay, so nothing that happens to you is happening without you having created a karmic implant or a karmic seed for it to happen and for you to see it. Okay. Have my pen back. I do. This pen is very, very well loved. So.
What happens when you take that?
So if you think about your daily life and you think about like different things, right? So we talked a little bit about like, starting a car. Like think about something like making a cup of tea, right? Like you might buy a cup of tea or get a cup of tea. There's no guarantee that you drink it. Someone might bump into you and you drop it, right? You might drink it and it burns your tongue and then it's like ruined. Every time you take a sip, you're like, it's painful. There's no guarantee that like every cup of tea you get is bliss or that it's perfect or that it's what you expect, right? So there's always this kind of uncertainty whenever you encounter things in life. And you also see this when you talk about, how you interact with other people, right? So everyone has this feeling that this person out there hurt me, right? Like we've all had that relationship or that family member, right? And you think that person out there hurt me. That person hurt me. They did something to me. And you think that that's something that's outside of you, and you hold on to that. Right? You hold on to that. And you create a cycle because you see it, you think it's real, you think it's coming at you from outside of you. And so you do the same thing, you react, you get angry, and then you continue to see it. And it creates this loop, right? So your boss complains, you get upset, you complain about it to your friend, and then you go to work and he complains, right? And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And this whole time you're like, gosh, this guy's such a jerk. Why is this person like this? But the reality is you wouldn't be able to recognize or label that if you had never done it. You wouldn't be able to recognize it if you'd never done it. So
what I do I can recognize a jerk because I've been a jerk.
Have you never been a jerk? Never complained. Never complained about anything. Never been rude to someone. Never cut someone off ever. And you can see, when you keep a book, like when you look, right, and you're looking at kind of these big categories, you start to see patterns in your life. Like I remember when I first started keeping it, I started being really careful about like little ways that I was stealing, right? Like little things. Like anytime I borrowed something, like I realized I would borrow people's books and never give them back. Like for years, like I had my sister's books. No good reason not to give them back. And I just got her books, put them in the mail, and sent them back. And I went through, are there things I'm keeping that I shouldn't be keeping? And I tried to be really, really diligent about that. And I found that down to losing a button, I find it in a day. My brother called me, said, you left my house, I left his house at 6 in the morning, did you have a button on your coat? He called me the same day. And even the smallest thing you use comes back to you. Because you're creating this energy when you put these things out. So what you want to understand is that it's not that there are things outside of you. This pen is not separate from what you think it is. It's because you decide, you see a pen, you've created this, you've created how it's used. Right? So it could be a tool. Someone else could see it, so this is a tool, right? And you can see it and you can say, well, I'm going to write with it. Someone else is going to do something else with it. And you're projecting that. And you're doing the same thing with every interaction that you have with other people. But it's not coming from that person. It's coming from you.
Just add something. I mean, like, the teachings of karma are very complicated, and it's said that, really the Buddha is the only one who can understand the complexities of karma, because there's so much, like if you feel regret afterwards, how does that affect the karma? It's such a complex, vast subject, and so someone might be being a jerk to you because, like, not necessarily in this life that you've been mean to someone, but it can be like, you know what I mean? Like, there's karma ripening from past lives in this life, right? And then the other thing to say is we should wrap up soon because it's getting late. But I just want to say that another way of looking at this whole idea is just that whatever blessings we experience in the world is as a result of some kindness that we've done for others, right? And Geshe gave this beautiful example of, thinking about how scientists are examining, what it is that makes the structural details of the building, of architecture. Why is this ceiling, above us, and why isn't it falling on us? And it comes down to, scientists are trying to figure out the particles interaction between particles, but really what it is like, what they're not taking into account is like the love that we've shared with other beings, you know what I mean? So it's just, I think it's good to just ground it in something a little bit more kind of basic, and just to say that whatever blessings we're experiencing in the world, whether it's someone who cares for us and loves us, or someone who gives us a ride someplace, someone who gives us a pen, or gives us an aspirin that works, it's because of some love or kindness that we've shared with others. And it's just it's a vast, complex subject that we really can't, explain fully, and that we ourselves as, beings who are still on the path and trying to figure it out can't explain. Again, karma is something that only the Buddha understands all the complexities. Only a fully enlightened being knows all of the, the vast subtleties of how karma works, and what your own thoughts and experiences, and whether or not that karma will ripen. So it's important to add that. But let's try to wrap up.
And then it ties into why are you being distracted in your meditation, right? Have you, like you said, the keeping thing, has someone been looking at for aisle 3, the popcorn, and someone at the grocery store is helping them kindly, right? Focusing on their needs. And you come up and say, hey, where are the candy bars? And interrupt. Like a beautiful interaction in a relationship, right? And then you wonder why you're getting all these interruptions in your meditation, and why you're getting interrupted at work all the time. You can't focus. Similar things, like if it's something pleasurable, is it caused from kindness in the past? And if it's something distasteful, right? Maybe it's similar to.
And I think the point is not to say that, you're doing everything wrong, or, I think the point is not to say that, the point is more to say that start thinking correct, like stop misunderstanding the way that the things that, the actions that you take in life, and the decisions that you make, and the way you look at people. So start drawing different connections between kind of what you do and the outcomes that you expect. And the reason that we just kind of wanted to touch on this subject again is just to bring it back a little bit to your meditation, because on the one hand, it's really focused on what you're doing on the mat, but then you have to also think about what you're doing off the mat. So if you meditate a lot and you get to a point where you're doing it regularly and you feel great, then, you know, you're going to have that, you know, a couple weeks where everything's wonderful. But then you're going to hit like a rough spot. You're going to have like a really hard week at work. You're not going to, you know, you're not going to be resting enough. You're not exercising. Your parents call and stress you out. And then someone's going to cut you off, and that's going to be the last straw, right? You're going to see it coming. You're like, oh my gosh, you know, that, whatever, right? You're going to have that moment where you lose it. Hopefully not. And then you're going to be like, this meditation stuff doesn't work, right? Like, it doesn't work. And, you know, what you want to remember in that moment is that the situation, the job, the boss, the person cutting you off, it's the pen. It's not separate outside. And if you can remember that, then what happens is you kind of progress off the mat, is that your reaction times get longer. So you see yourself getting angry, then you get angry and you stop yourself from saying things, right? So you go from having these gross reactions to having like becoming more subtle, right? So you'll have that thought, but it'll be in your mind. You'll see a couple and you'll be like, oh, they don't belong together, right? And it's like so quick you can't stop it, right? So it moves from being like these gross things that happen where you say or you get angry and you can't stop your reaction to getting more and more subtle. So it's, you know, kind of understanding that, you know, by doing an action, you're planting a seed, and that you're going to keep continuing to see the things that you put out there. So the two paths, both kind of what you're doing on your cushion and what you're doing out in the world, go together.
And to wrap it up, at the end, when you get to level 9, and then 9 plus is a platform of shamatha, which you join with insight, vipassana, right? At a level of meditative stillness and deep meditation level of stillness, shamatha, you're going to use insight of ultimate reality of the object, of emptiness, right? We talked about it correctly, subtly. At that level, you use that as your object. Insight, vipassana, imbued with loving kindness, compassion, mahayana goal. To be the being that can save the world. Save everybody, everything. It's understanding the pen, teaching, understanding that taking responsibility for your actions, right? And everything you do as a cause, it has an effect, right? Then you get on the upward spiral of being kind. It's a fifth prerequisite, right? Live more ethical life. You will see a difference on and off, and you all become this beautiful upward spiral, and you'll progress faster and faster. And then, since you've studied, in 6 months you'll have stillness, you know, and you start teaching the course there, and you'll get more teaching and be able to help more people, right? And you deep spiritual meditation and share this wisdom in other ways. So it's an incredible blessing. We're very, it's extremely high karma. You know, us sitting here. Dedicate your efforts and all effort you've been putting into learning this. It's a great honor to share it and consider it a blessing to receive it and get these precious teachings out of it.
Thank you guys so much for coming.